all new at
You
this.
have to be right up on the microphone too, like very close to it for it to be good audio. It feels awkward, but you should be able to hear yourself through the speakers.
And I don't remember how to do this. This is like,
You'll be fine.
we haven't done this in years.
I know we haven't done this in years. It's good for us. It's good for our brains. All right, is the gang all here?
If you want to come over this way, you can.
Yeah, I thought, I didn't.
I feel like we put him on an island
Well,
over there.
I didn't realize
You can-
Phil
you
wasn't
can come
here.
sit over here.
So yeah, he can.
Supposed to be on video.
Well, he is, but I didn't know that until he showed up here. So I thought Phil was coming in person.
That's right. No, this is why we're doing things hybrid.
All right. Sorry, do we have Phil?
That's
Not
right.
yet.
have to do the
Leslie
pledge
can
of
tell us.
allegiance if we're here.
We can. I don't even. Oh, it is on the agenda.
Say.
I think we're good to go.
Do we have
Phil's
Phil?
here.
Phil's
Alex
here,
is here.
Alex is here, Sebastian's on it, so there's nothing up there. I have it on my screen. I have the Zoom meeting on
Do
my
you
screen.
have a chat going with Sebastian in case things go wrong?
No.
So can we see Phil? Or no?
I think maybe
How does it work?
Sebastian can make it do that,
And Alex?
or
You're wrong.
Or-
Okay, now I lost Sebastian. He cannot. Oh, maybe he's the host?
I have it in my.
in your-
Okay, Sebastian's good to go, so.
We are.
Canceled, don't want to leave the meeting. Okay.
So Leslie, can we see them or hear them?
You should be able to see, I thought it would be up there.
There we go.
There's
Yeah, do you want me to turn the
Yay! We can see you now.
Anyway. And Phil.
Does that help a little so you can see them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
We're kind of in the dark.
Actually, we can
have
see
them in
them on
front
our
of us.
screen, so.
Oh,
that's
you can
all
see
right.
them?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, you just.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a little hard to see.
Red zone.
Red zone.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our mixed meeting with our first mixed meeting in a very long time. And so I know those of us that are sitting here in chambers are happy to be here, and we are certainly happy to have Alex and Phil join us remotely. So welcome, everybody. We will start with a call to order and roll call. Leslie.
John Krischer.
Here.
Susan Murphy.
Here.
Phil Pardue.
Here.
Tara Twomey.
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
All right, and while we haven't done this for a while, I think we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. So we are in chambers here. We will all stand. And ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public appearances. So members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern not on the agenda during the public appearances. Does not appear that we have anybody from the public here in the room, and it does not appear that we have anybody in public online. So we will move on to announcements. So announcements from the trustees. I will start with everybody else. Susan, do you have any announcements?
No, not really. We finally got back to the market after the horrible weather. We didn't do real, I'm
good.
on, okay. And we didn't do real well last week, but it was pretty slow anyway, so
Okay.
that's about it.
John?
No, not right now.
And Phil?
No, nothing for me.
All right. So I do have an announcement, which is I will be resigning from this position to take a new job in Washington, D.C. And so I think I may be around for the next meeting, but after that, I will be at least most of the time in Washington, D.C. So that's a bit of good news and a bit of bad news. It's obviously been a long adventure here and exciting, but I'm also excited about the new opportunities coming for me in the future. So that's my announcement. Ashley?
I also have some announcements, and thank you for your many years, Tara. It is going to be a different landscape. I mean, you've been on the board for as long as I've been director, and before that, I know I presented to you as local history librarian, and you will be sorely missed. And I have alerted the clerk because we've been down for one person for some time because I was looking at potential combination of library and community activities board, and that has not come to fruition. So we are going to hustle and fill the 2 vacancies prior to the regular annual filling of vacancies, because we are going into budget season and we will need to ensure that we have a quorum for the next few months in advance. So that will be an accelerated process, and thank you to the clerk for that. Also with library board, I will be sending out an email to the 3 remaining board members. The Carmel Public Library Foundation director and I and the board president meet regularly before our monthly meetings to discuss, upcoming items and things like that, so that we are all on the same page. One of the things that came up at our last meeting is potential for rotating participation in the monthly Carmel Public Library Foundation meetings. That way everybody has a good sense of what's going on there, and it kind of balances things out with people's work schedules and things like that. So I'll be sending around a sign-up sheet for the next 2023, the next year, to ensure participation in those Carmel Public Library Foundation meetings. And then, of course, just want to say that the library has received star status again from Library Journal. We've received it for 8 of the 15 years that they have issued it. This is for 2020 in particular. I want to thank the Carmel Public Library Foundation for all of their support, because part of this is tied in with, what we can do, our spending, and what we can provide our services to the community. And that 2020 was a rough year in particular, and we received 4 out of the, I think it's 5 stars, and we went up from 3 stars the previous year. So kudos to my staff for doing a great job. And then we just have a lot of projects going. We're really getting back to normal. The kids library, we have game afternoon and crafternoon, alternating Fridays, which are well attended, story times Wednesdays. Yoga programs. We had our first movie night last week, which was attended by over 50 people. And then we're starting to plan for summer reading. Our teen collection's being revamped, and we're building relationships with the high school again. The oral history program has picked up, and there were interviews done yesterday. We're doing those weekly now. Gosh, it's just, we're all in. I'm hoping that we will fill our last remaining vacancy for a full-time head of reference with interviews next Tuesday. So it's 2023 has been a hectic year for the first 3 weeks, but is looking to be a really good year for the library and the library staff.
Great, thank you, Ashley. Does anybody have any questions for Ashley on her report?
No.
Phil? You can shake your head, I can see it. Okay. Moving on to item number 3 on our agenda, receive a report from the Carmel Public Library Foundation on recent activities. Alex, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us and me. Good morning. And I just want to say congratulations to Tara, and a huge thank you to you for all the work that you've done with the Library Foundation, Board of Trustees, in our community, and you will be missed, and we're just very grateful that we had the opportunity to work with you, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Of course. And then a huge congratulations to the library for receiving Star Library status. The Carmel Public Library Foundation is going to issue that announcement in the Pine Cone either this week or next week, so the whole community knows about that. We've e-blasted it to our constituents, but we really are proud of all the work that the library has done. And being one of 12 out of then over 1,000 libraries in California is a really significant award. So congratulations, Ashley, and to you and your team. As Ashley mentioned, we have had a really busy kind of shot out of the gate for the first of the year. Ashley and I met recently with CPLF's new grant writer, and so we are working together to identify additional opportunities for the library, and that's really exciting. Monterey County Gives campaign ended on December 31st, and we raised approximately $45,000 from that campaign alone, and that check will be issued in February. After many months of searching and contemplation, we have selected a design firm to assist with the rebranding of Carmel Public Library and Carmel Public Library Foundation. And that is Jerry Takagawa, who's an award-winning photographer here locally in Monterey. And also he has his own design firm. So we're really excited about that. And we're of course preparing for a very successful annual fundraising event with the Educated Edition and best-selling author Tara Westover. That is on April 18th, and we hope all of you can attend, come out, support, invite your friends. Alexis Madrigal is going to be interviewing her. For those of you who don't know him, he is a co-host on the forum for KQED. He's an author in his own right. He's been asked to speak at Aspen Ideas, and the two of them, I think, are going to have a really engaging and stimulating conversation. The event, of course, will be featured across all channels, including NPR, KZoo. We will have a feature in Carmel Magazine as well, and then the usual Carmel Pinecone Print and Monterey County Weekly and social media, etc. We are reinstating our donor salute. So anyone who has donated over $100 will be invited to our March 5th donor salute event, which we had to put on hiatus during COVID. So we're really excited to be back in the Harrison Memorial Library. Ashley and I have much to present there, and Stationery will be catering it. There'll be fine, tasty bites, lovely wine, and a good time hopefully had by all. So we're very excited about gathering again there. And lastly, we have upcoming in our Community Night with the Library programs, Douglas Brinkley, who many of you know is an award-winning best-selling author, an American historian who appears on CNN and many television news shows frequently. And his recent book, Silent Spring Revolution, is going to be featured. We'll have books for sale there through Pilgrim's Way. We're just really excited to have him again, and that's February 8th, so please join us. And thank you. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. And thanks to the Carmel Public Library Foundation for all the great work it does. That list just shows again the amazing work. Let me see if the Board of Trustees has any questions. John?
No.
Phil, any questions?
None for me, thanks.
Susan? All right. Thanks for the report, Alex. Much appreciated. All right, next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the December 7th, 2022 special meeting. Let me just ask if anybody has any comments or corrections to those meetings, and if not, I'll ask for a motion to approve them. Can I get a motion?
I'll motion we approve them.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Leslie, can we have a roll call vote?
John Krischer.
Yes.
Susan Murphy.
Yes.
Phil Pardue.
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you.
All right, next on our list is the librarian's report for November and December 2022.
So our numbers are looking really good. Saw a little dip in December, but not too much of a dip, and that was just because we were closed for a week, but not as much as I was anticipating. So, I mean, across the board in terms of circulation and foot traffic in the door, we are still continue to be on the right track, and I'm looking forward to seeing, January and February, as again, we have increased children's programs and are looking at adult programs at the main library. And getting back to and doing a comparison again, probably later this spring with some of those 2018, 2019 numbers to see where we are.
Great. Any questions on the numbers or Ashley's report for November and December? Phil's shaking his head. John?
No.
Susan? No. All right. Next is receive the treasurer's report and approve the check register for November 22nd, which was included in the packet. You may have received it via separate email, but it was included in the packet for today. So, John?
I think right now the most important thing I want to bring up is our interest is really, we're doing really good, number $5,000 more than what we thought we would have, which is really fantastic. A few other things are technical services, a little bit more money spent there, but most of that is yearly billing. And the one thing was up was material processing and replacement. They were up a little higher, which is
I can attribute that to some work we've been doing in the teen collection where we have been weeding, replacing old and worn books, and then starting to order and add.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had spoken to the children's librarian. She said she went through and did that too. That's where I figured that came from. Other than that, I think we're really doing good. We haven't yet posted the check from the Friends of the Library. That hasn't been posted yet, so.
That'll be reflected in the December financials.
Yeah. Other than that, I think we're really doing good. And the check register, any questions on that? Like I said, I sign the checks every Thursday, so I pretty much know what's there, and everything looks really good to me.
Great. Are there any questions with regard to either the financials or the check register? And if there are no questions, can I get a motion to approve those for November? Susan has moved. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Phil. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
John Kirscher,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Phil Pardue,
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved, thank you.
Excellent. All right, moving on to another budget-related matter. The next item on our agenda is the consideration of a request for a second budget adjustment for 22-23 fiscal year. I'm not sure who's going to take the lead there. Okay, Ashley?
We worked on it together, but she's.
You worked
Yes.
on it together,
I'll take
but
the
Ashley's
lead
going to
and
take the lead.
Yes,
Great.
and then John can jump in. As promised at our last board meeting, I'm back with a second round of budget adjustments. John and I have been working on strategically looking at spending the unexpended funds that have been unexpended over the last 5 years, since 2016. After the board approved budget adjustments at the last meeting, we were left with a remaining balance of $73,500 of the earmarked $105,000 for library projects for this year. As such, I'm proposing first that we purchase some movable shelves for the children's department. As I mentioned during my announcements, we had 50 kids and family members in the kids department for movie night. Our programs are very popular, and I think we'll see an increase, and especially for things like yoga, where you really need to stretch out and spread out. The more space we have, the better. In 2019, the Rotary Club approved a grant to the Carmel Public Library Foundation in the amount of $25,000, which we have used to purchase movable furniture in the children's department. So tabletops that flip up that we can move out of the way easily, that are ergonomic for staff to move, but also, squish away with the least amount of problems possible, stackable chairs on wheels. And these have proven over the last month and a half to be very helpful and useful when preparing for these programs. And we have been discussing replacing some of the shelving in the children's department with movable shelving. We obtained quotes from a few companies. I had been working with a company last year to look at different types of movable shelving to figure out what would work best in that department to allow us to make sure that we continue to have enough space for our collection, that shelves within the shelves are movable up and down so we can repurpose things, because while we have an idea of what we need at this moment in time, in 10 years' time, we'd hope that the shelves still serve us well. And so we were looking at this project with an eye to the future. What we found was that the Space Saver Flex shelving from Systems and Space Inc. would best meet our needs. And this would replace 2 banks of shelves if you have been in the kids department. One, the low picture book shelves that are right there front and center, but also the nonfiction shelves that are a little taller towards the back, all the way back. So we could really have some room to move around, but also reconfigure the department as needed to make space for additional seating for kids who are doing study groups, things like that, depending on what our needs are at the time. We also looked at having, there's different lengths of shelves, and John was very helpful in brainstorming with us on that, because we want to be sure that you can put wheels on anything. It doesn't mean you can push those things forward. So we had 2 separate quotes, one for longer banks of shelves that could be moved, but also smaller, more modular ones. And that's the one that is reflected here in this price, so that 1 to 2 people can move these shelves easily without hurting themselves. And this will be more movable and more doable and allow us some flexibility with configuration. And the total amount for that will be $68,850, and that is inclusive of shipping, tax, and installation. Thank you, Space Saver, for including that up front. I appreciate that, having seen a lot of these types of quotes. And we will be, should the board approve this, this also reflects a discount from this company. They participate in cooperative purchasing through Sourcewell, and so I'll be taking a staff report to the City Council to approve that contract and to recognize the cooperative purchasing.
So actually, let's do these, and we may
Separate,
vote on
yes.
these. Well, we may vote on them all together, but I think it's important to kind of just take a break and just see if there are
Absolutely.
questions as we go through it. So let me just ask, are there questions for Ashley or John on the movable shelves for the children's department that anybody wants to ask?
Oh, okay. Actually, I have a question. I know that the Rotary Club, does that include the $25,000 that the Rotary Club gave us or not?
It does not.
Okay. So the $25,000 would go towards the shelves?
The $25,000 has already
Been spent?
majority been
Okay.
expended. I think the last time I spoke with Anita at the foundation, there was maybe $6,000 left. So
Okay.
it won't cover this, and I'd like to hold that, leave those funds there in case something else comes up that we need that's a smaller amount, but that we need to do, and
Okay.
give us that flexibility.
Great. John, any questions?
No, I've pretty much in on this, so.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Phil, any questions? Alex, I see you. I'll get back to you.
No questions from me.
No questions from Phil. Alex, go ahead.
So with the master plan in mind and not knowing exactly how long it will take to get to the point of the interior design aspects of the building, do you foresee the furniture as something that will be still relevant as we move forward with that plan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only asked that not because of the functionality of it, but the aesthetic also, so that we're not, so maybe we could not replace that and we'll still be able to use that in a new design. I don't know if that's possible.
Yes, no, it's absolutely possible. And in fact, with this shelving, we can swap out end panels and shelf colors and all of those types of things if needed. The other great thing about working with Space Saver is that they have worked with the architect that we had gone with for the master plan. So they are very good with that, and they've been working with them for the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. Again, neutral colors that we've chosen, but we can in the future if we need to change things up. These are very flexible in terms of that, and pieces and modular. So that was another, I was thinking about that and discussing that with our children's librarian as we worked and planned this project.
And then could you just confirm in terms of the funding for that particular project is coming from?
It's coming from should the Board of Trustees approve it, the funds that we have in the checking account that were previously unexpended. This isn't an ask of the Carmel Public Library Foundation.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Let's move on to the next item on the list. I think, again, we'll vote as a package unless somebody wants to break something out, but why don't you do the next item, which is additional funds for the teen collection.
Yes, so we have been working on, slowly weeding everything at the main library over time, and in mid-December, we were able to transition one of our part-time library assistants to being a part-time teen librarian, which is amazing. This person has excellent library experience working with teens. That's their specialty, and since mid-December, they have been working furiously to weed the long-neglected teen collection, and are just getting ready to start purchasing and filling in gaps, and are meeting this week with the new high school librarian to talk about what kind of support that they need, what kind of collections we can purchase that they might not be able to direct teens towards us. So to that end, I would like to supplement that budget of $3,250 that was there for the teen collection, and add an additional $4,649. That's the remainder of what is left of the $73,500 that I mentioned at the beginning of the staff report. So that's the less of the shelving project. And that would bring the total funds close to $8,000 for the teen collection. I think that's a good jumping off point for us to start making some investments in manga and just really make it nice down there for the teens. We're starting to see an increase in study groups coming into the library, both college and high school, using the gathering place and the teen lounge. So we do have people coming in who I think will be well served by that collection, especially if it has been invested in and reflects back what our teen community wants to see.
Excellent. I am thrilled to see that we are investing in our teen section after a while. So that's great. Let me see if we have any questions.
No, not really. I agree 100%. The teens have been underfunded, and we should fund them more.
Yeah. Phil?
No questions from my end, thanks.
Thank you. Susan? All right. And then it looks like the last item on the list is the Special Children's Program.
Yes. So, yes, Special Children's Program. Our children's librarian has been working with the librarians at River School and Tularcitos Elementary to facilitate a visit from children's author, illustrator, and producer Dan Yacarino. Staff are proposing to have him visit both Tularcitos and River School. So this is a 2-day kind of event, one school, one day, where he does a presentation earlier in the day for kindergarten first graders to talk about what he does as an illustrator, what books are all about, and then later in the afternoon, 3rd through 5th grade. And then the same thing at River School the following day. We had initially discussed how do we do this? Do we try to do this in the library and get the word out? Do we look at Carpenter Hall? And in the end, we figured that this would be a great program to do outreach and partner with the schools and go to them where we are to reach a maximum number of kids. The school administrators have been contacted, and we've been working with both of the librarians at River and Tularcitos to make sure that they are on board. The scheduling is all great, and they're very excited to have Mr. Yacarino potentially visit the schools. In order to facilitate this, it will require some funding, so the speaker's fee for both days, airfare, transportation, and accommodations. As I mentioned during the teen collection section of this, with the approval of that increase to the teen collection budget, that would bring us up to the $73,500. So the $6,000 I'm requesting would be an additional amount that would that I'm asking would come from the earmarked $60,000 that would go to LAIF to earn the interest. So that would bring us down to $54,000 to LAIF, which we would transfer after these budget adjustments should the board approve this request.
Okay. Any questions about this expenditure? Any comments?
No.
Susan, any comments or questions? Again, I think it's terrific that we are reconnecting with the local schools, and I think that's an important aspect of the work that we do. So I'm excited to see that. Does anybody have any questions or comments overall in terms of the proposal? Then I would suggest we vote on this as a package. and that if I could get a motion to approve the requested budget amendments as proposed, that would be terrific.
I'll motion we approve the package.
John moves.
I'll second it.
Susan seconds.
Sorry.
Leslie, can we get a vote, please?
John Krischer,
Yes.
Susan Murphy,
Yes.
Phil Pardue,
Yes.
Tara Twomey.
Yes.
Approved, thank you.
Great. And then the last item on our agenda is to receive a report, so no votes required at this point, but just to receive a report on the library strategic plan, and I believe that's going to be Ashley.
It is, and I'm going to do a little bit of a Mr. Rogers seat change here so that I can project up onto the screen so you can see the full strategic plan, and then I will go through this summary that I provided as a staff report. So just give me 1 minute to get situated.
Ashley, can you see Ashley for those folks online? She's moving to the podium.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay. You will all remember in 2019, we began the process of strategic planning, and our strategic plan was adopted in February of 2020, so not the best timing for a strategic plan that didn't anticipate a 3-year pandemic. The major goals of our strategic plan are to increase community awareness and engagement, innovate to support equitable and inclusive access, and to increase our operational excellence. I will say that we have, especially as we've come out of the pandemic over the last year, actually really made a lot of good headway on our strategic plan goals. And I applaud my staff for not only doing great work, but keeping the strategic plan and what we do in mind as we go through things. This is not a document that just sits there until you all ask me for a report on how we're doing. We talk about this on the regular at our staff meetings and where we are, and we do reviews of these things and are continually looking to achieve these goals, to complete these objectives. Of particular note, the RFID project is, we're going to be doing training tomorrow on tagging in that collection. Our self-check machines have been ordered and are on the way, and I'm thinking we will be completed with that project in at least by May 2023, and if not sooner. I have every confidence in my staff they're going to be able to just bust this out within the next 2 months probably. And I will say with the strategic plan, if you look at we attach dates to everything. June 2021, you see there, develop programs. We're going to be doing that, probably complete that for the main library by June of 2023. We're 2 years off, but we're still on track with this strategic plan to complete a number of the goals. And I've been a part of a lot of different strategic planning sessions and looked at a lot of different strategic plans for the library and for other things. And this is the closest we're coming to really achieving majority goals, 2/3 of what we set up for ourselves. Timeline is off, but this is very impressive. And again, back to my staff for all the hard work that they do. Of other note, the library facilities master plan, and we've been working on identifying an architect with the Carmel Public Library Foundation. We went through a very thorough process this fall, starting in September, that ran through December, to look at an architect that we felt could serve both of our buildings well, because they are very different buildings. And the City Council approved a contract for phase 1, which is being funded by the city, and that is anticipated to be completed by June 2023. And that's just phase 1. That's not the full master plan. That's just phase 1, but we are on track with that. The reconfiguration of the children's library. I'm going to move us down here as we go through. And I will note here, participating in the Farmers Market Monthly. When I put this on here, was thinking that this would be library staff, and it could still be library staff, but thanks to Susan Murphy for, during the pandemic, getting the friends out there at the market and being our community ambassadors, putting our bookmarks out there, letting the community know what our hours are. It has made such a difference. And the Friends' presence at the market is now kind of a standard thing. And I know the vendors are sad when Susan's not there, and people look to Susan, for information about what's going on with the library. The rebranding, Alex mentioned that earlier. We're working on a new rebranding so people recognize who we are, where we are. That was another fun thing during the pandemic, was to talk to people who had no idea the Park Branch was there. And what was the Park Branch, and local history. So we really have, and we've spoken at previous meetings about this, we really have 3 key locations, and that's the Children's Department, the Local History Department, and then the Harrison Library. So pulling those things in together so that everybody knows who we are, where we are, and what we do. And so we're on track to accomplish that. Again, this is going to be a busy spring for us. And alongside that, I'm hoping what will come out of that is some templates that we can use to further support what we've been doing in Canva and some of the regular things we've been doing with newsletters. We went pre-pandemic from doing once monthly newsletters to doing them. We were doing them every week during the pandemic. Now we're every other week, which I think is a good sweet spot for us, and lots of good information that have been going out. More regular posting on Instagram. We finally found our audience with that during the pandemic, especially for the younger families and the younger moms, that Instagram is a great way to get the message out about what we're doing. So that is going well. And then Welcome Packet, that idea keeps getting kicked around by all the city departments and various community groups. At the very least, we have a new library bookmark detailing what we're doing. But I want to continue to keep that conversation going with a planning department, with community activities, and make sure that we're welcoming our new families and new people to town. We always have suggestions and things like that coming in for patrons. We will, with the last budget adjustment that the Board of Trustees did, the 4 full-time library assistants I have will be going to the Harwood Institute. You'll remember that Katie and I did that pre-pandemic, and we used the information we gather to inform this very strategic plan. And we will use the information that we gather from community conversations that I'm hoping to conduct later this spring to inform a new strategic plan for us this fall. Anything we're doing with the marketing and rebranding, and also information that we can use as we go along with the master plan, because the net that we cast with the community conversations is wide and not necessarily, library services specific, and also take the temperature of the community for, changes and things like that, and reconnect with some of the community groups that we need to reconnect with. So we are on track with that goal as well. And then some of these things we've already actually managed to tick off. We did install a community bulletin board at the Park Branch, and that was during the pandemic, so that people can post whatever they want to post with no restrictions there of community goings on, and that's been going well. We have, if you've been in either one of the buildings, improved our signage, I think, significantly for what is in the collection, where things are, with our Dewey numbers that stick out very nicely. They're very prominent, and that has been great. And then again, master plan. We are, next month, I will be speaking to the board about e-resources. In particular, I'll be going to an online conference on February 1st for the Palaces app, which is a group of libraries that have gotten together in California to share their online resources. And I'll go more into depth about that and how we start to develop our strategy around digital resources. Looking at Weekend hours for the local history department is something that's in progress right now, and actually going back to the Saturday hours. Once we get that last full-time position filled, we will be transitioning to that this spring, and I'm looking forward to it. We have our schedule ready to go, got a plan in place, so we're very, very close to Saturday hours again. And I'm looking forward to having local history open on the weekends. We've never had that before, and I think it's really going to increase the usage of that department for people who are working, especially to be able to get in there to research their homes. We get a lot of people who are tourists who are passing by and want to know where their grandparents' honeymoon hotel was, which is always a fun kind of hunt to see where those things are. And then lastly, in progress, we've got the we completed the Gathering Place project, which is quite the triumph. And it is only increasing in usage. We have a regular schedule every day, and I think I mentioned earlier with the teens, we have regular study groups that are coming to occupy the room all day if they can, and they're bringing their snacks and they're settling in, and it's just absolutely wonderful. Reconfiguring the Park Branch Library, that is gonna hopefully be completed with the purchase of some of this flexible space furniture, and then we'll see how things morph with the master plan, but this will really change things up for how we're able to provide services in the interim. And then replace and reconfigure the furniture and lighting on the checkout level of the main library. That was incorporated in with the Gathering Place. So we are, I'd say, doing pretty well with the strategic plan, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great, thank you, Ashley. So are we at the end of the outline? I can't quite tell from
Yes.
At the end of the outline? Oh yeah, okay, great. Oh, we talked about the
yes,
RFID.
RFID, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So let me see if any of the trustees, thank you for the report, if any of the trustees have questions. I'm going to start with the folks here because I can see you. John, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions about it. My only comment is the Saturday hours is what I hear the most in public. That's when most people ask me when we're going back to Saturdays. That's just something that's very important to the community. That's my only comment.
Yeah, I think weekend hours in general are going to be well received when we're able to redo that. Susan, do you have any questions?
No, I agree with John. That's the question I get a lot. I do get a lot of tourists who are interested in going and seeing our library, so I'm delighted it's open on Thursdays now. But I'm getting particularly parents who want the children's library open on Saturday.
Yeah. And Ashley, my recollection is just before the pandemic, we actually had Sunday hours too.
We did have Sunday hours. One of the things that I've been looking at in terms of our hours is Saturday and Sunday used to be very interesting as they were staffed by part-time staff only, who didn't really have a lot of overlap with full-time staff. And so I'm working on changing that, and I'm hoping in the future that we can add a few more part-time staff members and look at Sunday hours as well. But it's a whole different thing. So I'm just looking right now very focused on Saturday hours.
And people will be very happy with Saturday
Yes, and
hours.
I know
I just didn't want to lose the long-term goal that you know where we were before
Right.
we shut down.
Right.
So. I cannot see Alex or Phil right now, but I think I can probably hear you if you have any questions or comments that you would like to make.
This is Phil here. The only question I have is, the plan was developed in 2019 and 2020. What have we learned over the last 3 years, or is it time to update the strategic plan going forward?
It's absolutely time to update the strategic plan, and that's my goal for this calendar year, is that we start to embark on this process. I want to finish some of these goals. I think one of the biggest things that we took and learned out of the pandemic is that we can really library anyway, anywhere. We're not limited, and some of the things that are on here that might have seemed daunting, for instance, like participate in the farmer's market. That was a whole discussion around, well, how are we going to do library cards and what does that look like? Now that's just nothing. We can do those things so easily, and so I think our goals will be much different and probably lean more heavily on programs and outreach, and potentially some of our digital resources as we go forward. But yes, we learned quite a bit from the pandemic. But that being said, some of these projects still are going to serve us well in terms of streamlining our services, because we did a lot of that during the pandemic. What policies aren't serving us well? What rules aren't serving us well? RFID will make things faster and quicker and more efficient, and for checking in, checking out, and inventorying collections, making sure that things are weeded and up to date. So I think that while this is, a completely different world we were living in 2019, it's still a solid plan that has good things that support what we learned in the pandemic. So I think we can hopefully finish out a number of these projects by the end of this spring and be starting a new strategic planning process and information gathering.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Phil. Alex, do you have any comments or questions? All right. All right, I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. I would just ask, does anybody have anything that they would like to see on a future agenda in particular? All right.
I think just a couple things. As I mentioned, I'll do a comprehensive report out about ebooks as we go into the budget process for next meeting. In addition, we will need to identify an interim president. I'm hoping that the appointment process for our 2 vacancies will go quickly, but in the event that things are slow, we should probably plan for that accordingly and add something to next month's agenda.
I think that's a wise idea. Okay, well, with that, I think we have reached the end of the agenda. Thank you, everybody, for joining in our first mixed meeting in a long time. It's certainly nice. We hope that we get to see you all in person, those of you that are joining us online. It's been great to get to see everybody here. So thanks again for everybody joining us, and we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.